Hiram, you're the only one here so far.
Appears so.
Anyway, today is only a review class, so you guys can ask me anything. How are you doing? Are you all caught up on your quests? Hey, Alex, welcome. All right. Yeah, I was just telling Hiram that today being a review class and all, you guys can ask anything. And if someone has code from last week, was it last week? Yeah, last week. Happy to, we could all hack that too, right? Or if you want to do things to it, that's fine. We can play around with the code.
So I have a question. Are classes on the midterm? Because I just started.
No, everything up to classes, but not including classes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, that's I think that's really worked for me in the past. So I'm kind of sticking to that pattern, which is really up to the midterm. It's really just C programming. Yeah, so CS2A is supposed to be introduction to object-oriented programming. And it's the introduction, right? It's the introduction. So which means that, you don't have to, the introduction has to happen midway. Yeah. You guys should feel free to, even brainstorm amongst yourself if you want, right? You don't have to be silent. Because I think I mentioned this in a previous quarter. Silence is very infectious. Someone has to keep the airwaves occupied, because what is it? I think, there must be some study, right? So in human dynamics, because what is it? The champagne effect or some kind of effect, conference effect, cocktail effect. Yeah. Oh yeah, cocktail party effect or something like that. So when the show is about to start, there is some, or when someone believes the show is about to start, the huge audience will just basically exponentially reach silence, right? Which is otherwise impossible, right? Which, and I think must be related to how starlings fly in these huge formations or something like that. Some signal is propagating really exponentially fast, and we can't track it fast enough. But so silence, what happens is that if nobody is talking, now I think this is my hypothesis, and I think we should verify that at some point, but I don't know, so if there is a silence, everybody has a resistance to be the first person to speak, to break the silence. And then the longer the silence is, the reluctance to break it increases too. And that kind of feedback effect keeps lengthening the silence, and that vicious feedback loop makes that silence grow bigger and bigger, and nobody's talking, right? So if I stop talking and I'm just sitting around, I think, there's a real risk that we'll all just end up looking at each other's faces, right? So someone has to keep the airways occupied, even if it's talking nonsense, right? That's okay. Because, if you're talking nonsense, especially, that's helpful, because then other people won't feel as reluctant to butt in, right? If they have something interesting to say, they'll say, yeah, okay, it's worth butting in now, because we all understand it's just nonsense being talked about, right? So, everybody understands. And whereas if someone else is saying something important, then you want to wait until they're done. And so, yeah, it's better to, yeah, if nothing at all, if you're not saying something important, just say something unimportant, right? Because then someone will say, okay, there's actually nothing important going on now, I can butt in. But silence, people won't butt in. Silence, people always say there's some meditation going on here, right? And I don't want to disturb these folks who are maintaining this incredible silence, right? So that's no good. In a class, right? Maybe, if you go on a retreat and you want to be by yourself, that's okay. But in a class, we should just be talking.
Professor, one quick thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a bus. Yeah, it's Neil.
Yeah,
I'm on a bus right now, so I can't really communicate for the next hour or so. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. You should ask the driver to put us on speaker. so I'll teach a whole busload of people C++ at the same time.
Free class.
And then the driver will get the bus
That
automatically.
would be great. So I don't think last class we discussed like why it was faster when we passed by reference.
Yeah, sure. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you save that question? It's only 8:06,
Yeah.
and I bet people are going to start dribbling in. If you can save that question and ask at 8:30,
Okay.
I think it'll help more people too. Thanks. Yeah. Also, like that. Let's save up some questions, right? So we have something to talk about afterwards, because we have 2 whole hours and more. I can stick around. My next meeting is I got a bit of time. So no worries. I stick around after that too. So you got to come up with questions to ask, and don't use the chat window because I don't see it, right? Because I just see that badge there saying. Yeah, Neil started asking. No, started asking, and then, yeah, Alex and I started talking about something else. Yeah, Neil wants to know about the midterm. Yeah, save those questions too, right? Ask after. So we got 2 sets of questions. Alex has this question about something, and then you're going to ask about the midterm. We can talk about those things. We'll start at 8:30. Until 8:30, we'll just keep it light. Light but useful nevertheless, right? Because I don't want people to say it's just going to be light, I'll join at 8:30, right? Then it keeps but it's going to be light but useful in the sense that if you miss it, no big deal, but if you manage to make it, then you may actually get something out of it, right? So it's not like useless stuff. We don't want to be talking about useless shit, right? But we'll talk about something that will make a difference in our lives. Make it easier to code something, or good programming practices, right? Or good ways to approach problems that have iterative solutions, right? Because it's a slightly different way of thinking about it, right? Because a programmer needs to consciously train themselves to defer the gratification for n iterations down. Right? It's not like a mathematical proof where a deductive step just follows instantaneously, bam, 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 like that, right? So so you have to train yourself to not see the solution right here, like in a math proof, but there. You got to take a few steps to get there, right? And so it's a slightly different way of thinking. It is still very mathematical in that it is a deterministic outcome once you know the input parameters. So that's why it's a science, right? So it's a deterministic outcome, but still it's a different mode of thinking. And I think it's a more adult way of thinking about things than children, right? Because as children, we're very spontaneous. We want everything right now and then, right? Bam, 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 like that. But when we get older, we see that bigger rewards, exponentially bigger rewards await if we can take a linear number of steps away, right? Which we're not willing to do as children. And so, and it's natural, right? It's not like, we pack these things with values and say that, as adults, we get wiser and things like that. No, as children, we were spontaneous. We tried a lot of things spontaneously, enjoyed it repeatedly, and then found that, it's the same old thing, right? So I've enjoyed everything that's really spontaneous. So now I want to look at the next level to see what can I get beyond that. And for that, I need to wait. I need to complete that before I can see the next level, right? So children have actually, so as adults, basically children who exhausted, the field of immediate pleasures and gone on to the next. So that's what gratification brings to our life. So it lets us see the next level pleasures. And programming is, in that sense, a way of delaying the gratification of proof that is so spoil-worthy for mathematicians, right? Because we get so used to saying that this has to have an analytical proof. Well, even in programming algorithms, you can have an analytical proof that it's actually correct, but we're not talking about the proof of correctness, right? But the proof that it will eventually terminate, or the proof that it is eventually going to give us a solution that we want, right? So it's, and those are the things that require a different kind of thinking, right? Not the analytical part, which really is, we've been doing for millennia, right? The mathematical thinking, the logical thinking to say that it is correct, that's, different. That's more mathematical. But the more deferred part of it comes from the programming insight that we bring to say that, well, even though it is correct, we can't get to it instantaneously like we can in a mathematical proof, but we have to get through it through a series of steps that has to follow in one of a set of well-defined paths, right? Because, it's not like there's only one way to get to the solution. So there could be multiple ways, multiple iterative ways of getting to the solution, right? We recognize that multiple iterative ways will all work. But then we also recognize that there are multiple ways that may not work. They take you away from the solution, right? So a large part of the programming mindset is really to come up with a good intuition about what paths are not going to lead to the solution, right? Because at some point we have to exhaustively enumerate and check out, oh my gosh, these new glasses are, so we've got to exhaustively enumerate the possibilities in front of us and at least play them out in our heads and say, well, these paths are not worth taking at all, right? So they're not worth spending a nanosecond on, because nanosecond is still finite, right? So you got to, so in continuous space, the only way you can make progress is by basically chunking out huge intervals and saying these intervals are not worth exploring, right? Then we can carve out a finite number of paths that we can explore using finite apparatus. So, and I think, so as we program more and more, I think that sense of thinking about things, and it's not just as we get older and older as programmers, but I think it is that way of thinking about things is another way that many people don't even know exists, right? And there is actually a whole way of that way of thinking about things. If you bring it to bear upon the analytical way, I think you can explore the wealth of all these algorithms out there whose solutions are not immediately obvious, but we can trust them so blindly that they will lead us to the solution if they are followed, and we pay the cost, right? So and algorithms always come with a cost, saying that this is the cost you'll pay for, this is the reward you get. And however, the beauty of computer science is that it can tell you an upper bound on the cost, right? It can tell you this is the maximum you're ever going to pay. This is the maximum you're ever going to pay for this reward, right? So, and we never get that luxury with anything, right? So with very few things. And so an algorithm, a computer scientist will be able to tell us, here is a way to solve this problem. It's not going to come for free, but it's going to cost you, but this is the maximum you're going to. So we can make a conscious judgment and conscious choice, right? Not judgment, conscious choice, and say, well, am I willing to take that cost? And many cases we find, especially if you go into a field that's never been picked and there's lots of low-hanging fruit, you see that the costs are so minimal, right? For incredible fruits, right? It's incredible. So like Google and Amazon and Netflix, so they could see these fruits out there that require very little effort, beyond beyond the insight into the mathematical framework and and a couple of insights that come from computer science. There were this field of an incredible number of low-hanging fruits that were available for well-executed solutions. Well executed, and people didn't have a good handle on well executed solutions because I don't know, right? Right, and that's what computer science brings to bear, really. So a good intuition, if you keep doing this again and again, I think will tell us, how much everything costs, and then we can make these really thought out choices, saying. Ultimately, I suppose it boils down to an MBA kind of thinking, right? Because you're saying, well, if I have these things that are each of these are going to be costly, how can I allocate these resources to maximize something else, right? So you can have a very calculus-y kind of thinking about this thing, which, detached from humans altogether. But that's really not, so if you look at programmers, right? Even though you could actually say, a programmatic way of thinking, if you just boil it down all the way, lets you detach the man, the humanity from it, and look at it as a calculus and solve these problems and say, here are mathematical bounds, and here's a machinery you can apply to this and come up with a solution, and these are the costs you're going to pay. This is the collateral damage, right? And you can choose between the lesser of many evils, maybe, right? But I think programmers themselves, when they attack problems, they don't look at it with that eye, right? But for somehow, many programmers, many of the best programmers I've seen, they have a completely different way of, when they look at a bunch of problems, what interests them most is not the one that is, necessarily the most profitable or things like that. Anyway, we got time. Hey, Peter is here and he's just climbing this fence, and I don't know what's he doing. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, but he just jumped from that corner to this corner. Not Peter. But Peter doesn't come by anymore, so I just call him Peter too. So what the hell, doesn't make a diff. He doesn't know. So no, Peter, by the way, is not a person. I know you never saw him, right? He's not a person. It's a squirrel. It's a wild squirrel that comes by. I leave a bunch of goodies for him on the little platform I built. He comes and eats it, and then he hangs around for a little while. Takes off. It's kind of funny. One time, first time before the original Peter got tame, I tried to give him some nuts on my on my palm, and he came by the first time he took some nuts. He didn't know, I don't know, maybe he couldn't tell if my fingers were smelling like walnuts or something, maybe. So he thought one of my fingers was a part of a nut, and he bit it. Started bleeding, and then I yelled and I shook it, and then he took off, right? And and I was afraid too. And then I realized that he didn't want to eat me, obviously, right? A little guy, and he thought my finger was a walnut. And so the next time he came, I had some nuts on my finger, in my palm, and I gave it to him. But this time I was like totally resolved that I would not flinch even if he bit into my finger. So it was like that. And then he came and he spent a good deal of time sniffing around, and came very close, not biting my finger, but he was sniffing around. And after he was very satisfied, he just took a walnut and then he scurried off. And the next time he's hung around for a little longer. Now he just, even the new guy who comes around, I don't know if they met each other, but he's a lot tamer, even without me having to train him and all. So it's kind of funny, isn't it? Because we kind of think that squirrels are warm and fuzzy, and they kind of see us as friendly mammals too, but we don't see snakes like that at all. Right? If you look at a small snake, there's no way that snake could eat us, right? And it's probably more scared of us because we don't just kill for food. We just see a snake, we kill it. Most people, right? And so from a snake's point of view, we are more lethal to it than a snake is to us, because we don't just kill for food, whereas a falcon or an eagle is going to kill it for food. We just kill it just for the hell of it. And so it's got to be more terrified of humans. So imagine how we feel when we see a snake, right? And then we can feel how a snake would feel if it sees a human, like 10 times more. Yes. So yeah. So that was a very, nice way of, maybe I'll get Peter to come and learn C++ sometime. If you have any questions, obviously you should feel free. We still have 10 minutes. I can't believe we have 10 minutes left. But what we can do is, how about this? All right. I shouldn't be the only one keeping to try and blabbering on and on. How about this? Okay. I'll just mute myself, because if I'm around, you guys are not talking at all. But I will come back if I hear silence. I'm just going to give you 10 minutes of time. So just, and if someone shows up, can you guys see the gallery? I hope you can see the gallery. If someone shows up, just welcome them and all, to make sure that they know that there's a class and you guys are just hanging around in some kind of a Discord setting. So just make them, just welcome them. So I'll step around. I'm going to be here. Okay, I'm going to be here. And so call out to me, but be talking. Okay, if there's silence, I'll come back. Is that okay with you guys? All right. And obviously, if you have any questions to ask, I think Neil has one, Alex has one. Discuss them here by all means. Make a note so that we can address all these questions, right? All these questions, starting 8:30 when all the students are here, or most of the students are here, we can talk about these questions. All right, thank you guys. I will. I'm just going to be around. Okay, so see you soon.
So do you guys think the midterm will be like the data rep quiz?
I kind of think so, but like another part of me thinks it might be, you know, at least a little different. But I actually kind of hope it's similar to the data rep.
So I haven't taken it. So like, what kind of questions were there?
Like a very standard math science class test quiz. Yeah. Neil said that there's probably going to be code snippets. I agree in the midterm.
So that sounds
There was not
easy.
any. It was not very bad. It was pretty easy.
Okay, maybe I'll take it. I've been scared.
Yeah. If you read through the data rep module and you understand all this stuff in it,
Yeah.
it's pretty easy.
Okay, so yeah, I should take maybe before Thursday.
Probably before Thursday.
Yeah, should be good. How far are you guys along in the quest?
I'm finishing up quest 5.
Yeah, that's where I just finished quest 5, so I started
Nice.
the extension. What extension?
We had a poll on Reddit if people were still working on Quest 4 like yesterday, then
the
we could
one
get an
with,
extension.
Was that the one with like 8 parts or something? And like the float or we're
Quest
not supposed
4?
to talk about it. But
Probably not. But quest 4, I don't know. I think it had 6 parts.
I think I got stuck on quest 4 and I
did,
finally
that's for
like
sure.
just like I did something and then
7, huh?
submitted it and it worked. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, a lot of people get stuck on that one apparently.
Yeah, I got stuck. 5 was okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure when they were due either, like the freeze date. So I've just been doing one per week.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't have as good of a habit. I did them all the week.
You did them all?
Well, yeah. I don't know how like many is all. I still had like secret passwords, but I was like, I don't think we have to go this far.
Yeah, wow.
But
that's
I
crazy.
did like as much as I could, like right before, because
Wow.
I don't have good habits.
Yeah, like they actually took me like some time, like each of them. So
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I didn't do them like hours before it was due. I spent like that full week right before.
okay, yeah, I was
But
like,
yeah,
wow. Imagine doing it all in one day.
yeah,
Oof.
yeah. No, I'm
I
not.
think
I'm
that's
not.
impossible.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it would
good
take
enough.
so like it's
5?
like
Really? I don't think
what?
5 was that chunky. 5 was pretty quick.
Yeah, 5 was okay for me. I don't know.
Oh. Yeah, 5 was fine.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, the midterm should be good if we're all caught up.
Yay.
I think so. I kind of wish I'd taken it before he made the opening. The 26.
Maybe.
More fundamental, Neil said.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm worried about though. Like,
What
because
does fundamental mean? Like,
yeah,
more,
like we can coding, like we can all code, but
I think, yeah. Yeah.
directly to the concept. Oh, so okay, I hope he's not listening, and he probably will, but I haven't read the modules.
Me neither.
Okay. Like there's
Oh
so
my
much.
gosh.
There's so much. Have you read them? Were they good, Neil? Like helpful? Were they helpful? Oh, light is good.
Oh shoot, you can probably
Oh,
hear
that
that.
sounds good then. Maybe I'll look at it before Thursday. So I found the best coffee place in the Bay Area. If you guys live near here and like coffee. So I swear,
Unfortunately, I hate coffee.
you hate coffee?
Yeah. I used to drink it like in high school because I pulled like more all-nighters, so I'd grab coffee in the morning. But or like I would just wake up late, or no, not late, wake up really early so I would make
Mm.
myself drink coffee so that I could stay up. But I hate coffee. I do not drink it anymore.
Interesting. I never have drunk coffee.
Oh, you guys wasted on you.
Yep.
Okay, then I won't tell you guys the place, but I'm very happy. I live 5 minutes away from it. Oh, so Neil wants to know. Okay. It's called like 1 ounce coffee. It's like a small coffee shop in Castro Street in Mountain View. But like every coffee, like this size coffee is like $6. So I have to buy 2. So yeah, I don't like that. I like buy like $12 in coffee a day, and that's not really sustainable. So yeah, like $4 grand a year. That's not good. Yeah. I don't know what I'd be doing if I were still on student loans. I would be screwed. So yeah. Hey Maddie, what's up?
Not much. Very tired. I did not sleep very well last night.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Do you like coffee? No one likes coffee?
I don't like how bitter it is.
What the heck?
If I did drink it, I would put enough like sugar and milk in it so it tastes like sweet milk.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Neil says he is still on his parents' benefits and he's thinking about money. And he tried black coffee once by mistake. No, it's not a mistake. I only drink black coffee now. It's so good.
Okay.
It's so good. When you get used to it, like when you get good coffee, it's delicious.
It kind of seems like you're drinking bitter dirt, but
But like, I don't know how
I've
many
never
of you are
tasted
21, but alcohol is just as bad.
Exactly.
Alcohol is like, no one drinks alcohol for the taste. Like, come on, you're lying.
I went to Italy when I was younger and I had a limoncello and I've never wanted to have alcohol since.
No, it's terrible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why am I wrong? Alcohol is good, Neil? No, alcohol is gross.
Neil's an alcoholic.
Neil's an alcoholic. Yeah, there are a lot of people who drink for taste, but it has to be acquired. Like, you don't just drink alcohol the first time. And you're like, yeah, this is delicious. So, yeah. How come there are so few people on Tuesdays? Everyone wants to come on
I don't know, we have
Thursdays.
6 participants. That's insane.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is pretty
well-
crazy.
Oh, did your guys' power go out? What was
No.
it, Sunday?
Where do you live?
No.
Oh, I live in Los Altos.
Really? That's right
Mhm.
by
Wait,
me.
dang.
I had power.
Wait.
Our power went out like 5 times.
What?
Yeah, it was insane.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, I would have noticed that.
Where do you guys live?
I believe Los Altos too. Yeah, Los Altos.
Really? You guys are rich. Los Altos is like,
Well, I'm still in with my parents
Yeah,
oh,
same.
so your
because I'm
parents,
Yeah.
17. So
so you guys have rich parents. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, they're both engineers, so
yeah. Engineering is like the new doctors here.
um,
Good
Well-
job, Neil. Where are you moving to?
Nice.
Well, it's good. I lived with my parents until I was like 24, I think, because it's just cheap.
wait, how old are you?
Well, I graduated from college like 5 years ago, so I'm just taking this class for fun.
I didn't think you were that old.
No, everyone looks the same once you. Everyone looks the same. Like I can't tell if my friends are like over 30 or not, and so it's really awkward. I find out I'm friends with like people 10 years older than me. And it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the industry.
Oh yeah, you work at I know this. Nope, I've forgotten. Sorry, I
Uh,
tried.
Yeah. No, I work at Google actually.
Oh, you
Yeah.
do?
Oh, so does my dad.
Really?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Where does he work? Is he in like YouTube or Android?
He moves around a lot. I think right now he said he's helping with YouTube stuff.
Yeah, I have a friend in YouTube. That's awesome.
What do you do, Alex? Can I call you Alex? Is that okay?
Yeah, my name's Alex. I don't know how to change my name in Zoom because Zoom sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm an Android. So I just do backend stuff in
Oh,
Java
that's so fun.
and Python. But I hate Python. So change my account details. Okay.
I mean, if you just want to rename yourself in the meeting, it's super easy. If you're in gallery mode, there's a little 3 buttons in the top right, and you can press rename if you click on it. But if you want to change it permanently, then you have to go into account details.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Why can't I find this gallery mode 3 dots?
The
Hover
gallery
over
mode.
your own picture.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
There you go.
Oh, I should have said that.
Rename. Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. But yeah, it can be really annoying to have to change it every meeting.
Yeah.
Scrap them.
It's okay. So I don't know. Have you guys liked C++?
I mean,
So far, I prefer
Seems-
Java, but don't tell the instructor.
All right.
That's what he heard.
Hey,
Nice.
I'm back. So any questions, interesting questions popped up? I'm happy to answer. Anything else you guys want to talk about? That's fine. If you guys want more time to talk, I'm happy. You know, if you as long as you guys are helping each other out, I'm happy with that. We'll make sure to answer all your questions, okay, before end of class, for sure. We have, you know, the midterm questions from Neil, and then Alex had that technical question. Yeah,
Yes.
we'll make sure to get to both of those. We'll have enough time for those. Even if I start answering those at 9 o'clock or 9:15, I think we'll have enough time, right? You know, a couple of minutes each question. You know, famous last words. Yeah, even 5 minutes per question will be done. So we won't have, we don't have that much for me to talk about at the very least. So you guys can have, I think you guys were having a great time, right? I think I heard some laughter and things like that. Yeah, Yeah. So you guys
Yeah,
are having a great time? Okay,
it's
great.
because
Yeah,
Maddie
this is great. Yeah, absolutely. I will absolutely try and watch the YouTube clip, right? It's a nice, well, by the way, you know, you guys are you're unwitting stars. You know, I mean, you're signing on to, we can turn this into a chat show, right? You know, lots of people have these coffee conversations, these clips that go viral on YouTube, right? Having interesting conversations, even about technical stuff. Right, a lot of stuff, you know, like even the Veritasium guy started off like that, I think, right? And lots of people, you know, this Seeker guy and this Action Lab, so many people started off just having interesting conversations, recording them, and then, you know, about simple technical topics, right? So maybe, you know, Alexandria brings up that interesting question, and then Maddie or Hiram has a theory, and it's really interesting, right? And they just talk about it, even though it's a wrong theory, nobody cares, right? Because what we find usually in talk shows, interesting things, right? Interesting things that people, conversations, is not whether what is the point of being argued about is right or wrong. Very few people are, you know, seldom we're interested in that. But what we're interested in is what keeps the talk engrossing is the way in which, you know, objections are raised, the questions are formed, the doubts it raises, and are the participants picking up on the right things, right? So even if it's a wrong thing, it doesn't matter, right? Because everything is, at the end of the day, everything either bad or good, you know, something has beauty to it, right? Something has scope for enrichment, and it has hidden form in it. Let's try and poke holes in it. Let's try and find out together, right? Even though that's not what we're looking for, it is actually some form that we actually like, right? So we'll try and like, you know, archaeologists looking for one of those fossils, right? So all together, and it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. I think what people like, I think that probably explains many of these talk shows, right? So people are not interested in the actual content, but how it is being played out is what is really makes things interesting. And I think the same thing would carry on to tech discussions also, right? I mean, if you have a conversation, you know, a bunch of you get together and pick a couple of really interesting tech ideas, and then talk about it beforehand on Zoom, you know, rehearse it a few times, or, you know, at least come up with interesting things that you can talk about that other people will find interesting, and then get together. Maybe, you know, STEM Center, there's a couple of really interesting places, you know, comfy places. There's a whole lot of places in around Foothill, you know, sofas and flowers and things like that, right? So you just open to students. So you just get together, sit there, capture it on your iPad, and that would make for a fantastic YouTube cast for, you know, that group. And maybe that will become like, you know, a series of videos like that, like the Veritasium guy, right? And each time you talk about an interesting thing about tech and say, hey, have you ever wondered why popped items are deleted from a stack, right? And not given to you, right? And see, a lot of people don't know that. And if you don't, and if you're stuck for questions, you can always go to Stack Overflow or one of those questions, Quora, and people ask all these interesting questions. But think about it, right? Very few people in the world have access to Quora, even though a lot of people have phones, right? A lot of people around the world, right, have access to the internet and so on. Most people, I find, they're most comfortable with just YouTube or Facebook, right? And I think that videos that go viral, so you can, so if you don't have a theme for your video, you can just go to Stack Overflow, right? Or one of these tech places, and they have a lot of interesting questions, and many of those interesting questions may not be, you know, discussion worthy, right? In a way that you can turn into your tech chat in a discussion room, right? So you can pick and rank and have a group discussion and say, you know, and like this pop, you know, why is the item deleted? And then you could come up with, you know, maybe Hiram could come up with a wrong reason, a deliberately chosen wrong reason, but it's interesting, right? And it's okay, and it's good for it to be wrong, right? It's good for it to be, because if it's right, you know, you can get the right answer 100 different places, right? But coming up with an interesting wrong reason, now that's something, right? That's really hard. And so maybe Hiram and you guys come up with, right? You come up with the 3 interesting wrong reasons, and then you pick and choose, right? Sure, okay, you know, Alex would ask that, and Neil would ask that, or Madison asked that, and and then you discuss that, and then it's like a 10-minute clip, right? 10-minute video clip, and then you post it. and see how it goes, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because it is both instructive to us as students to do something like that, because it helps us, dive deeper and find more detail, what's interesting about things, right? Because we really what we learn is the goal of all teaching and all learning is to basically be able to point people at, look, right there is right in front of you is something that is interesting, right? So it is because many times what we find is students who don't learn properly are just students who have just not seen what's interesting, right? Who've missed seeing the interesting part, right? And they're somehow distracted or pulled away, or life is happening, and I don't know, right? So maybe that's not the right time in their life. They don't see what's interesting. And so I think what teachers tend to do really is basically just keep yanking students around, right? So pushing them around and saying, forcing their heads right in a direction and say, look, right in front of your eyes, you see some interesting stuff. Go and play there. Don't play in that quicksand. You're going to drown. Right here is a nice structure with monkey bars and all. Go and play there. And and I think that's what we do. So I think it'll help you from a student perspective to find interesting things and thereby enrich your own knowledge. It'll help you give you a platform to say, here's an interesting technical channel, right? So and where if I come up with an interesting idea, I can actually test it and have people around the world test it for me and send me feedback and results, right? So you can do that. It will be instructive for other people. If your video goes viral, imagine how many more people in the world will know why a popped item is deleted and not returned to the user, right? But said in a very nice way, right? Maybe Hiram has, okay, well, I have an idea, but it's here's an analogy in life, right? Which makes that idea make sense, right? And describes that, and maybe it's wrong, but it still is an analogy, and people will pay. Right? Not pay meaning pay in terms of their minutes, right? That's a currency these days, right? So the number of minutes you spend in front of a video is basically your payment for the video, right? So basically, as long as it doesn't matter if it's wrong, like I said, it has to be interesting and make sense, right? Peripheral sense, at least at some point you can rip it down and say, well, it made sense all along, but here it fails its fundamental premise, so it doesn't work, right? So, but people, that might be a suspense, right? So you can build everything out like a story and a Game of Thrones kind of thing, and I think it'd be really cool if you do that. Do you guys want to practice that? You don't have to do that right now, but I think that's a great idea. You can come up with interesting questions. You can also scour our own lectures. There's lots of interesting questions students have asked in the past. Best place is Quora or Stack Overflow. Lots of people don't have Quora, right? So imagine if you just pick up all the interesting questions, just the ones that have high votes, right? And lots of feedback and comments saying that's fantastic, so interesting, it's worth reading, right? So you use lots of answers on Quora. Unfortunately, there's a huge deal of Quora that's really like the dark internet, but it's really not dark. It's like the light internet that's covered that most people cannot see, right? Because there's a huge wealth of knowledge, even on Google and Quora and all other places, that never get seen by the public, just because nobody notices them. Right. And so I find that many times it's actually better to rely on the algorithm, right, rather than on the votes, because and increasingly better, right, even with YouTube and Google and so on. I hardly ever go by Facebook too, right? I hardly ever go by the number of votes or the number of views the video has got, more by just being completely open with the technology as to what is interesting to you. Right? If you just tell the AI what's interesting to you, instead of being secretive about it, and all this privacy nonsense and shit people, use, even when it doesn't matter, right? When it matters is okay, but I think that a lot of people, so if you're not open with technology about what is really interesting to you, obviously you're going to get thrown a lot of shit. Right? You're going to say, is this interesting to you? Are you interested in this, hat enlargement technique? Right? Who the hell cares about these things? Right? So, but you'll get shown it because you haven't told the technology that you are interested in, black holes and gravitational waves. Right? So if you browse a couple of articles there and actually liked them, right? And then the technology would know, right? This guy actually likes stuff about, the deep universe, right? So let me see if I can find more interesting. And it's not just like, it's not just match, and it's not raw counts anymore, right? Because the technology is sophisticated enough to do a lot of things, right? Second degree and third degree, and looks at your other interests and merge them all together. So there is an alternate version of you living inside of the technologies that we use every day, right? There is a version of Alex and Madison and me and everybody living inside of Google, living inside of Facebook, right? As to whether it's accurate or not, no, they're all copies of me, right? So why do they need to be accurate versions of me? As far as it's safe for me to do, it's better for me to have them be accurate representations of me, because then it'll do my job for me, right? I don't have to weed through the nonsense it gives me and tells me that's what interests me. As long as I have a safe but copyable version of me, this is where your const versus rough, in C++ comes into play, right? I can say, here is a safe version of me, right? That I can afford to save inside of Facebook, inside of Google, and that's all const, right? They can read it, but they cannot change it. Yes, this is const reference, right? So const, so it's okay for me to share it because it's not going to be, damaging to my data structure. They're not going to come in and change the link structure and say, well, you know what, your fundamental belief structure is now changed because we went around and re-energized neurons for you, right? So, well, as long as I say that's not going to happen, I know who I am, right? I'm not going to change. But however, right, in order for me to use Google, to use Facebook, to use Netflix, and so on, in a meaningful way, right? Not as just a way of saying, I'm going to a buffet meal, right? And 90% of the dishes are stuff that I absolutely don't like, right? And I only like 10%. And to make matters worse, the 10% is not in one place, right? It's scattered all over the place. They got to go looking for all of them. That's a real pain, isn't it? But at least if you let the chef know, or let the, the servers know that, this is who I am, right? I like, dishes with cream in it. Right. And so that person is your friend and you're on good terms with them. They're going to say, well, you know what, there's all these dishes, but let's actually try and get all the cream dishes to one side at least. Right. So this guy will find it easier. So the buffet has been personalized for you in a sense because you let the person know that you like cream. However, if I said, I'm not going to let anyone know who I am. Right. Even if it's safe for them to know, I'm not going to let them know. All right. So you can be a privacy fanatic and that way that's OK. Right, if that's what you want. But that means we basically give up the right to complain about the service, saying, all these services are useless because they're recommending all kinds of crazy nonsense to me that totally does not even appeal to me anymore. Right. So we say that we blame the technology when really the person to blame is us because we can't distinguish between information that is safe to disclose and unsafe to disclose. In other words, as programmers in C++, we don't know which objects are OK to pass by a reference, OK to pass by const reference, OK to pass by value, and not OK to pass at all. Only exposed via getters, setters, or other methods.
Sorry,
we haven't talked about it in the classes, sorry.
What's the difference between passing by reference and const reference?
Yes, okay, thank you very much for asking, Alex. Can we talk about that? Yeah, can we talk about that now? And then, well, why don't we address the questions and then I'll give the stage to you to, carry on your conversations. Yeah, is that okay? Right, your question and then Neil's question. Was that your original question too? Const and const ref? All right, well, I think, all right, well, hopefully we'll get a good intuition about const and ref and so on. All right, so when you have, typically, right, when you have an object that is a non-trivial class, meaning that it contains stuff that needs to be stitched together, meaning it's not a primitive type like an integer or a byte, right? It's a package that needs to be put together and then, right? So if you pass that by value, that means another package exactly like that has to be constructed. A constructor needs to be called, which is code that needs to run at runtime in order to make a package that is exactly the same as you, right? So at runtime, we are expecting anytime we pass by copy or by value, which is not by reference, copy or value, we are assuming that we're paying the cost. We're paying the cost of the runtime system, not even the compiler, right? So the runtime system at the time, users computer running some code to stitch together an exact copy of this guy. Now, this is okay if this guy is a primitive type, like an integer or a byte. It's going to happen anyway, right? But if it's a complex type, even if it has like 15 bytes in it, it gets So those are the times when we can actually benefit, first of all, by saying, well, here is not the copy, but it's the original, Meaning that I'm not going to pass you the 100 bytes that make up this object so that you can get a copy of the 100 bytes. However, I'm just going to put the 100 bytes there, but I'll give you where it's stored so you can take a look for yourself. So then you can pass a reference to the object and not the object copy. So now we haven't talked about const yet, right? We haven't talked about const. So we can do that, right? So that's possible, right? Does that give us a saving or not? So that's one of the reasons why we pass by a reference. Right. The other reason, obviously, is we say, I'm going to pass by reference something, but you're going to do something and get a number or magic result. You're going to give that result back to me. However, you're already returning to me a value that says true or false. Did I succeed or fail? Right. Maybe you're going to return a true or false indicator. That's your return value to me. But if you are true, if you're returning true, meaning that you succeeded, I need one more bit of information from you. Where can I get it? To get that, I will pass an object in by reference, meaning I'll give you the address of a room, right? So when you get the result for a true return value, you have the result, meaning you succeeded, you can take that and put it there. So there's another situation where you pass by reference saying that, you don't have room to return the object formally to me because your return is taken up by some other Boolean or integer, right? But yet you need to give me an object back. And especially if that object is big, or even if it's a second value that you can return, you can put it in that location. So that is another reason why you pass by reference, not by copy, because you can pass by reference saying that when you get the result, put it in here, because that is reference, right? It's not a copy. Okay, so two possible reasons. Now, when you pass in the second case, when you pass something by reference like that, you cannot say it's a const reference, right? Because if it's a const reference, that guy can't put anything in it. Yes? Okay, so in that case, you cannot make it a const reference. However, what happens if, like in the previous case, the previous week's case, right? We talked about this huge movie, right? And you just want to count the number of scenes in which a particular actor occurs. Yeah. Then you'd say, here is a reference, because I don't want to copy the whole movie, because you're not going to change it. I'm not going to copy the whole movie for you, right? But you need to see it. So here's the entire movie. Go and check it yourself. So they can screen it and play with it and so on and so forth, and count the scenes and give you back a number and then return the thing to you, right? However, it's wasteful because what's the point? If I'm going to ship it to them and they're going to ship it back to me, I might as well screen it and they can come and watch it, right? If they come and watch it, then that they can come and see it, but they cannot change it because you're having a copy yourself. Yes. So you can say in those cases that, I'm going to give you something, but because I don't trust you, so it's a very important thing there. What the API says is not that I don't trust you. It says that I have to trust everyone equally. So if I trust you, I have to trust everyone else, and I can't afford to do that. Therefore, my blanket policy is that I don't trust anyone. So even though you may be trustworthy, I can't trust you. So if I give you something, I'm going to give it to you, even though I know you're not going to change it. I'm going to give it to you. So which means that even though you're calling your own method, so that is where this thing maps into programming, is that you're writing a whole bunch of methods, right? And you're calling your own method. Many programmers I've seen would say, I'm only calling my own method. That method is not going to change this object. So I don't have to type that extra 6 letters, CONST space. Right? Because I know this method is not going to change it. So I'll just pass it, by reference. But, that really is bad practice because, I think it is better to suffer the overhead of typing those extra 6 characters because that really says that you are equitable in your programming outlook, meaning not, people kind of thing, right? It's equitable, meaning all methods outside of you are identical, right? If you trust, because that helps build security in your product also. Because you will extend the same kind of trust to your own methods as you do to anyone else. And so, if you are robust to your own methods, you're going to be robust to every other method also. So the best way is to treat, if that nucleus out there, your code, right? Even if you tend to write the supporting material for the nucleus, the cell membrane, everything, right? Even if they're all authored by you, right? Linus Torvalds writes the whole thing instead of the kernel and the shells and everything, right? So even then, even though everything is under one person's control, the benevolent dictator would make sure, right, that, even though I use my own services, I would use that in the same way with no extra privileges than any other user would, right? So the only bare bones necessary things that I need to live and breathe, okay, the core functionality, that's the only thing I'm going to do. Everything else, I would do exactly the same way as someone else, even though I have the ability to do a special thing that nobody else can, because I'm the guy who wrote the code. But what's the point, right? Because there's a billion people out there who don't have that ability, right? And if they are to use it, they can't use these special abilities. So the only way I can make this general purpose and everybody to use is to make sure that I don't use any of the special facilities that I've built into the core. So again, programmers generally tend to think like that. So you'll find that when you write libraries and things like that, and supporting material for your libraries, you'll find that even though you're able to take certain luxuries, you'll basically look at those luxuries and say they're pointless, right? I can't use it. I can't use it in different circumstances. So why should I use it now? So, and then you'll say, there are certain places where certain things need to be used. And so I will absolutely use them. But certain places I don't have to use them, right? And that is one of the dangers that, not dangers, I think, maybe every programmer needs to go down that path, because because I think once I think as people, we discover the power of computers. Obviously, the first stage is getting infatuated with it and looking at how much it can do and letting it do every damn thing possible, conceivable. And then thereby realizing its limitations, right? And saying these are the things it can do and these are the things it cannot do, right? So and so we can say, all right, let's try and build something that is as general as possible, right? So let's try and identify some core stuff which are absolutely essential, and everything else that is just icing on the cake, which you can be opportunistic about. So certain things you can be opportunistic about, certain things you cannot be opportunistic about. So identifying that takes a lot of practice, and it's also a flux, right? It's always changing too, but as trying to get as core as possible and sticking there, and then imposing the same set of constraints upon your own code as you would to others, right? Will make sure that your systems will be robust to other attacks, and not attacks in a sense, but robust in the sense it won't crash as much for other people. I don't know if that made any sense. I think we started talking about const and const ref and passing by reference. Does that make sense though? When you pass by const and when you so you pass by reference many different cases, but the two most are when the object is too large and when you want data to be passed back from the caller in a way other than the return. So that's one thing, and those are two reasons, and then you can tag it with const, saying that nobody's allowed to change it, but everybody can read it.
Yeah, thank you. That answers it.
Thanks. Neil, you had some questions about the midterm. He's still on a bus.
Yeah, just the format. I don't know if can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering about the format.
Yeah, same as the data representation quiz. Didn't you ask this question last week or on Thursday? It's the same as the data representation quiz, and except that you may have to run code in your head, but it's not going to be huge chunks of code, like 10 lines, maybe 5 lines, maybe. I think 5 lines. I don't remember. No, I don't remember more than 5 lines.
And then I don't know, I haven't looked at how many questions, if it's available, but could you tell us how many questions there are?
Yeah. I think in the midterm, I think you'll have 20 questions in the midterm, and it's going to be out of 20. And I believe it averages out to very close to 1 point per question. Okay, I'm not sure if it's exactly 1 point, because this is some non-trivial calculation that Canvas does to calculate points. When there's multiple correct answers, you got to check all of them, right? So if you got 2 right, and if you have 5 choices and only 2 are right, you got to check both of them. And if you check one and not the others, it's not like 0.5 and 0.5. It's 0.5, but if you didn't check that, it's some negative point. I don't know. They use some crazy formula. right? And I've basically implicitly trusted it because it's all, scaled appropriately in the end. But depending on feedback from you guys, I don't know how many of you are planning to do my 2B, but depending on feedback, I'm planning to change the weights. Maybe I'm thinking about changing the weights around so that the exams have more weight and the quests have less weight and things like that. Because I don't know, maybe students want more emphasis on the exam part. We'll find out, right? You guys let me know. So far, questions should be weighted. Neil is saying something. Hey, Neil, just speak up. I know you're on the phone. Actually, if you're on a bus, it should be easier for you to speak up, right? Rather than type this on a phone.
Oh, I'm walking to my next one.
Oh,
So-
weighted the same. Okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah. Neil is saying they're probably weighted the same as what we have now. Yeah, this is really the feedback I've got from many students, right? Because that's why the quests are weighted this much now. It's not like they were always like this. I've experimented with different techniques and proportions. This is what we settled on. Although I used to have more, I used to have 2 more quizzes before. I had midterm and then 2 more, right? One between the start of the day, I think week 3 and week 9 also, or something like that. I had 2 more quizzes. But then a lot of students didn't want the 2 extra quizzes. So that's how, because all of that would add together into your non-quest score or something like that. So some different formula was used. I forget. Maybe what I should do is, I still haven't merged the questions from those 2 quizzes that I don't give out anymore, which I'm pretty sure took me at least a week to come up with, right? They're just sitting there. And before they expire in Canvas, I should merge them into the question bank, right? So that you get, I think the reason I've been putting it off is because I want to split them up into the midterm and final banks. Maybe I'll do it, over the Christmas break. Yeah. So yeah, does that answer your question, Neil? It's going to be very similar in format to the data rep.
Yeah, that answers it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah. Happy to answer, right? If you think it's going to help you, if you think it's going to wake up Hiram. You guys want time to talk? I can take off like before.
Well,
I have one more question.
Yeah, sure.
If we wanted to do like a study session with you on Wednesday, like a cram session, how can we go about setting that up?
Yeah, sure. Wednesday. I have 1 sec. Okay, let me just look at my calendar. Wednesday.
maybe
27. Yeah, I'm free. I'm free most of the day except between 11 and 2.
So we could just like email you or sorry.
Yeah, set up. We need at least 5 people to be part of it, and I'm happy to just join a Zoom session. Just set up a Zoom session and invite me. Hopefully, you'll also record it and post it on basically, you can post it on Nonlinear Media, our channel, and then we can share it with the Reddit for the other students. You should just invite people to participate in a roundtable discussion led by you or one of you guys, and you should invite me also to participate. Yeah, and
I'm
then
sure everyone could use the review.
Hmm?
I'm sure everyone could use the review, and we'd love your help. So.
Oh yeah, totally. I'll just join as one other participant, but one of you guys should lead the meeting, and then if and at any point you should feel free to ask. Let's ask Anand here, right? So and then, or hey, do you know, right? Or can is this right, or something like that. I'm just happy to sit around, be a fly on a wall for the meeting, right? And then only ask questions that are thrown my way. Oh, only answer questions that are thrown my way. Can you guys schedule meetings on Zoom?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Make sure it's recorded. I think there's a box for recorded, and don't password protected. I think because I like our lectures are not password protected, right? And then yeah, and then once it's over and it's and you hit the end meeting, it'll record it and save it on your disk, and I'll show you how to upload it to nonlinear media. And maybe that could be your practice run for this, tech talk, right? So a tech table talk, and do that, maybe in person or just in Zoom. Have a conversation, record it. I could be a participant, and make sure whoever's the chair or going to lead the conversation has to make sure that I am just another participant, right? Meaning that you will not accord me extra rights or extra time, right? If I'm not on topic and if I don't answer your question, you're going to say, all right, thank you. Let's move on to Madison or Fernando, who has another question. I will come back to you, or something like that, right? You can exercise. You can just try use that as a practice run for your talk show, right? And it could be a group talk show, right? Each one person could lead it one day, another person could lead it another day, right? Each day you discuss something interesting. And this midterm thing is just going to be a practice for you, right? It's not your actual talk show. Maybe you start your actual talk show with an actual real interesting question, right? But this could just be a practice run amongst yourself about the midterm. Yeah, go ahead. And, yeah.
Is the midterm open book? And what does open book mean when
you can have all the notes? You can have all the notes by your side. You can have you can have a Chrome window with Michael Loseff's material.
Okay. Yeah, Loseff's material. Okay.
In fact, I set up originally I set up questions so that you get 1 hour, and you can and you're okay to use VS Code or Xcode or these code fragments. You can embed it there and run it and take the result and put it there. But then I realized that sometimes it's just a code fragment. They have to wrap it in main, right, in order to compile it. And some initial variables need to be filled in and so on. So it's actually, even though it is possible to do it in an editor, it's faster to run it in your head. Okay, so I think I created the midterm and the questions a long time ago with this assumption, saying that it's okay for people to be slower and run it. At least it will force them to run it and look at the result, right? And do it, but they won't have time to finish the midterm if they do every question like that. You can only finish the midterm if you get good at looking at the code and then running it in your head, right? And when you have some serious doubts about, oh, I have I++ there, so outside the loop, is it going to be 6 or 7, right? And then you can say, well, that I'm going to verify. That you can just verify, not even in VS Code, right? You can just open another browser, JavaScript tab, because it's the same syntax pretty much, right? You can just verify in a JavaScript window too. So there's 100 different ways, CPP.sh, GNU Online, GDB Online, all these places. So you can certainly do that. But if you do that for every question, I think you'll run out of time. I think that was the idea with which maybe the questions have changed, maybe. Also, I set it up so that the questions are chosen randomly. So, and I find that for each student from question bank, so after the midterm, I usually have students either discussing on Discord. Well, first of all, don't discuss in Discord and Slack and so on. Okay, those are closed channels. They'll die off, and your insights won't be preserved for future students. So use Reddit, and it's much better. It's a lot of answers and clever things that people have said in the past, right? And it's very interesting. So use Reddit. And what tell I don't know how we started talking about this book.
Oh, I have another question. So Rand, whenever we do the quest, it's like don't use SRAND. So like is Rand, is there like a hard-coded seed or something?
Yeah. And in fact, every time we write our code, sample code or fun code in class, we usually say open main with call to SRAND, right? Yeah, SRAND sets the seed explicitly, saying that in this huge random number table that's stored inside of the compiler, right? Start in the library, start your sequence of randoms at here. Right, we set the seed explicitly, saying start your randoms from that point onwards. So not everybody gets the same set of seeds. It's very important in quests for you to not call SRAND, because SRAND is the way that I control the output and the input that your program will generate, right? Because if I want to give your program a bunch of random numbers or a bunch of random graphs or a bunch of random trees, right? The way that I control that your program gets exactly the same data structure as my test program, which is supposed to be correct, right? So is every program that you write, you can rest assured that I have written a correct version of it, right? Which is running in the test engine. In the questing system, I have a version. And what I do essentially is, whatever you do, I take exactly the same input, even if it's randomly generated. I just need to make sure that it's exactly the same random generation here too. So if you call SRAND, then I'm totally screwed, right? Then all of your tests will fail. You won't get any trophies. Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering if we could do some like coding today to go over the fundamentals.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. If everybody's happy with it, just pick up a window and start coding, and anything you want to code, we can code, right? We can code anything except classes, right? We don't want to code classes yet today. Let's save classes for next week. And we can continue this on Thursday too, by the way, right? So I'm happy to come back on Thursday and continue the lecture. So we can code new problems too. Or we can have another discussion just like this. Thursday morning, we can code, right? Open a window, we can code interesting problems. We can take that array and try to sort it. We can try and do that too. Yeah,
That sounds
we can
fun.
try that. There's a whole lot of things we can do, right? We can find the minimum and maximum. I think we've done that. Mean, we've done that, right? We've done a whole lot of things, I think, but we can try and sort it, right? We can try come up with a couple of interesting sorting techniques, right? So maybe I'll introduce something. Maybe we'll do counting sort, okay? So I think Daniel Hutzlik, one of my past students, he is very passionate about counting sorts, right? And even when he was doing 2C, he came up with a counting sort technique, although it wasn't log linear and all. But he was passionate about sorting and counting sort. And so when he was doing 2A, he implemented a counting sort for something we did in class like this. You can go back to one of our lectures, right, on YouTube and watch it. And then he was implementing it. All right, I was talking him through it. No, in fact, was it something like that? Those exact details I forget. But it was a counting sort technique. That much I remember. We can do that. We can do that. Absolutely. Yeah, we can totally do that. In fact, how about this? How about this? You guys tell me, okay? You guys tell me. How about this interesting problem you guys can try and solve, and I can jump in if you guys want me to, all right? Given a large chunk of text, maybe a Wikipedia page or something like that, okay? Yeah, either copy and paste or read from a file, however you want to do it. You want to spit out all the letter frequencies, right? So you want to say, you want to do two things, okay? You want to do two things. You want to spit out all the letter frequencies by decreasing order of frequency, okay? Meaning that you're going to say this document has 5,624 A's, right? It has 2,200 B's, right? And each letter you're going to have a count, right? And these counts are going to be in decreasing order, right? So obviously I should be sure that E is going to be right at the top, right? Because that's what Samuel Morse found, didn't he? Right? So he took a newspaper, believe it or not, when he invented Morse code. This is a story. I don't know, it's all apocryphal, right? Because the story is that he wanted to find out dots and dashes, right? Dots. So by the way, Morse code is not binary. Lots of people think it's binary, right? Because it's dot, dash, and space. It's actually trinary, yes? Because space has very high semantic value in Morse code, right? It's a dot, dot, dot. So anyway, what I was saying, yeah. So he sat down and he counted, apparently, right? He counted the frequencies of all the letters in the Wall Street Journal, right? Imagine, right? He took the Wall Street Journal, and the story goes that he counted all the letters, and he said, oh, E is the letter that occurs the most in this newspaper. So E has got to get the shortest Morse code, which is dot dash, right? Actually, why should it be dot dash? It should just be one, I don't know. It's got the shortest code, right? And apparently the same kind of logic was followed when designing the typewriter. Most keyboards that you see, E is really, one of the index, what is it? A middle finger, right? The middle fingers, E and I, right? Yeah, they have the highest, most frequent letters, or something like that. If you ever wondered why the letters are arranged in that funny way. on some of these 10 keywords. So yeah, like that. Maybe you should do that. Maybe you can try doing that. How about that? That's really cool, isn't it? So there's two things here. One is you have to, and you can use an array. You can use an array, and this is easily something you can write in under. Okay, under a total of 50 lines, right? Including the main, under a total of 50 lines, right? You can write the code, aim for that, okay? Which should do this. Given a large text, that text doesn't have to be part of your document, right? So maybe that's up there, as in const char star text equals huge, right? And then within quotes, right? And then you got to go, and then your main starts, main and all your methods. That's 50 lines. Okay, so you got to do two things. First is it's got to find the count of every single letter, and you can do a couple of things here. Discard every letter that is not that is not part of the English alphabet, right? You can keep numerals. You keep A through Z and 0 through 9 and numerals, and also normalize all the cases, right? So uppercase A and lowercase a should count the same. We can do that first time, right? The second time you can do, different cases. First time, normalize the case so that you won't have too many things to dump on screen. So you're going to process all of your text. Each letter, you're going to increment the corresponding vector cell, saying, I've seen that, I've seen that, I've seen that, okay? And at the end, what do you have? After you have processed the text, you have a vector with counts, right? And now your job is to sort it so that the highest count is at the top and the lowest at the bottom. Yeah, okay, yeah, I think we can come up with interesting ways to do that. Okay, so two things, right? I think you can do both of those. And yeah, and you will only have 26 plus 10, 36 items to sort, right? 26 letters and 10 numbers, 10 digits, and each one with a frequency, and you just need to sort it, right? So the most frequent letter is at the top and the least frequent letter is at the bottom, and you need to dump it on screen saying sorted the frequency of all the characters in that fragment that you gave me, right, is this. And I can show you if you have Replete or one of those terminals, I can show you how to do it on the command line in Unix too, right? You can break up a letter, break up a text into individual letters, and basically I can show you now, right? If I can show you before I go, I can show you how to do it on the command line, so you can actually run it again and again to see if the counts you get are the same as the counts, right? So let's do that now. All right, can you, can you just go onto a terminal, just open a Chrome window maybe? We'll try that, right? I'm just running through this in my head. And we'll open a window. How do we get a huge bunch of text? Maybe we can use wget, right? Wget a curl to get something from Gutenberg.org, right? I think Gutenberg has, I'll find a good URL on Gutenberg.org that we can download, which is basically some, big, like, Moby Dick or Gutenberg.org, Project Gutenberg, okay. Right? So we'll pick up a big book like text. Let's see. Let's see, search and browse bookshelves. All right, let's see, find a new author. Bookshelves of related ebooks, frequently downloaded. Let's see, top 100 by popularity. Okay, good. Let's take a look. Why is it taking this long? Every time I click that, the reason when you click certain sites like Gutenberg.org, the reason it's not snappy is really an indication of how many people are interested in the site. Yes, because if a lot of people are interested in the site and the content of a site, the site will be zippy because all of it will be on the edges of servers, right, on the cloud front. Everything, so the pages will be bam, bam, bam. However, if you go to a YouTube video that's like published 25 years ago and not seen by many people, it's still there, but it'll take I don't know, 10 seconds to load, and that's because it's not in any of the edge locations and needs to get it from the server banks. Maybe it's frozen halfway across Antarctica, right? So it takes a while to get to, and it's a pity, right? Because some of the really useful stuff on the web, it's basically out there, and we're actually thankful, right, that it's still there. It just takes, but a lot of people are not. Frankenstein, Pride and Prejudice. Okay, let's try that. Okay, and I think that's big enough. Starting pitches. Okay. Okay. All right. Text. Plain text UTF-8. Okay, good. 780 kilobytes. Chapter 1 all the way to chapter 61. Okay, this is the URL. I'm going to paste it. Okay, I'm going to paste it in the chat window here. Tell me if you get it. All right. So open a if anyone should open a Chrome window, we'll navigate to a terminal, maybe cpp.sh or a repli, and then get text from here, stream it, and then I'll show you a command line sequence of commands boldly spoken, I guess, to break it up into individual characters. I'm pretty sure I used to do that at one point, right? We just need to break it up into individual characters and count the frequency of each. All right, let's use that as a challenge for me to remember back to my good old Unix days, right? How I used to do that. So some stream of text, we need to break it into characters without using C++, right? And you got to replicate the same behavior in C++, essentially, right? So let's try and do that. Who wants to take the screen, right? Take the screen, open a browser. Actually, if you have a Mac and take the screen, it's even better. If you have a Mac and take a screen, yeah, just go to a terminal, right? Let's not go to a browser. Just if you have a Mac, even if you don't have a Mac, if you have Windows and have PowerShell, which basically gives you a Unix prompt, right? Or have Cygwin, which also gives you a Unix prompt, it's easier. We can do it in Windows too. But I think
I'm using Linux, so.
You're using Linux? Okay. Hey, Hiram, can you share your screen?
Okay. Oh shoot, doesn't want to press the button. Okay. Okay, that's weird. Let me just check some stuff. It doesn't want to let me share a specific screen, so I guess I'll just have to share my screen.
No. You can share a window. You can share.
I know, right? Yeah, I try. It's not letting me do that right now for some reason.
Oh, then you should not. You won't be able to share anything then, because if it's a Mac, it has these. You have to go all the way to settings and enable screen share, because
no, it's not a Mac. It's a Windows computer running Windows subsystem for Linux.
Oh, so you can't share.
No, I can just share my screen.
Share your screen. I think if you're okay with that, just make sure it's all clean and share your screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, I think it should be fine.
Let me try and think through what I'm gonna do.
Is that working?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Well, I can see your screen, but it says it has started. Hiram has started. Can everybody see Hiram's screen? No, I
it
mean,
just said started screen sharing.
Alright.
It doesn't show the actual screen.
Yeah, it's black.
Shoot.
Oh, good. I can see your screen.
Oh, yeah.
Right, just
Okay,
go to
it's just lagging.
Yeah, just go to get out of the editor and let's go to a command line for now.
Okay.
Command Z. Did you hear? Were you in Vim and you got out of Vim?
Yeah, I
Right, practice that because I think it's very useful. Get back into Vim. Up arrow. All right, Command Z out of it. Okay, you're all right. Good. So anytime you want to get back to where you were, hit Command FG. Okay, FG will get you back to where you were, and you can Command Z out of it anytime. All right, now let's do what is the behavior of wget? Does it wget dump to the terminal or to a file?
I've never tried.
Curl. What about curl? Type just hit curl and hit return. Hit curl. Enter. Oh, good. Okay. Good. Okay. Now go to the chat window and get that URL that I pasted from Gutenberg.
Oh. Chat. Oh shoot.
I can tell you what it is. In the chat window in Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, it's www.gutenberg.org. It's actually a very easy URL. You can just type it. No, I'll just tell you what it is. You can type it.
Trying to open a browser.
Yeah, the curl line. Go to the curl line.
Wait, what?
On your terminal. Go to the
Oh.
you had the terminal. Yeah. Just say curl space. Good. So this directory is called junk, right? So you don't care what goes in here?
No.
All right, thanks. Space. We say type https://www.gutenberg.org /files, right? /1342, right? It's 1342 1342-0.txt.
Like that.
Yeah, how did you get that?
Because I have the chat window open.
Oh,
I
you
don't know
do?
if you can see that, but
Yeah, great. Okay,
Okay.
hit enter. I want to see where it goes. It's taking a while because, you know,
Yeah.
the server is slow.
sorry.
Maybe it's getting it. Maybe we should have said, you know, curl -v so that gives us progress, or, you know, it's verbose, but I'm pretty sure it's getting it now. Yes?
Probably.
Yeah, okay.
Wow.
Oh, it's getting to a standard. Oh, that's great. That's what we want. Okay, it's coming to standard output. All right. So up arrow one time, up arrow one time. Just let's dump it into a file, right? So greater than.
Oh shoot, is that this one or is it?
Yeah. All right, let's jump it into a temporary file in the temp directory, right? Oh, you don't care if it's here. Are you going to delete this directory, right?
Probably.
Yeah. So just say pride and prejudice pp.txt, right? pp.txt. That's pride and prejudice.txt. Yeah.
I see.
So when this command completes, all of that should be in that file. All right. Enter. Oh, curl is intelligent, right? If you have this greater than or shell, yeah, it actually does an is-a-tty call. So it's asking the operating system, is my output cout connected to a terminal, or is it connected to a file, right? So it's making that call. It's an operating system call, you know, right? So it's making the call, and the operating system says, in one case, hey, you're connected to the terminal, which is the first time, right? And so curl says, okay, I'll be very silent. I'll only spit out what they asked me, and it spit out everything, right? The second time, when curl started, it asked the operating system, hey, am I connected to the terminal? And the operating system said, no, you're not connected to the terminal. You're actually connected to a file. Okay. And curl said, okay, if I'm connected to a file, then the file is big, right? And I need to dump all of that into a file. Usually going to be sitting around waiting for a long time. So I'll print some progress messages. So when it's dumping into the file, it's writing progress messages to the screen. How clever is that? Right? So you can do all these really clever and cool things in C++, meaning that you can think a little bit for the user, right? You can spare the user a lot of thought and effort, which, you know, otherwise. So here we have the progress message. Now that file, pp.txt, if you want to see inside of that file, just say more, which is called a pager program, more space pp.txt, pp, and you can just hit tab, it'll autocomplete for you, right? So hit enter.
Right.
Enter. All right, so that's the file, right? You can hit space to tab through it, page through it, right? That's all of it. Everything we saw in the browser is right there, right? So what we want to do is, how big is this file? Do an ls-l, pp.txt, q out of this, q.
Right.
ls space dash l, space pp.txt, pp, and hit tab, pp and then tab. Enter. All right. So this file is 798,774 characters big, meaning that there are 750,000 characters in this book, right? So if someone asks you, how many letters did Jane Austen write in Pride and Prejudice? Is Jane Austen a male or a female? Right? No. I think one of those male name authors is actually a female, right? Because she chose a male name because society was so sexist at that time that they would not accept this is Jane Austen, George something, I don't know, George Eliot. Yeah, George Eliot is actually a female, right? And she chose George because she believed that people wouldn't buy her books or the producer, the publisher suggested they use the male name. You know, the society hasn't changed, because that's what they told J.K. Rowling too. Yes. Because they said, you know, if you go out as Joanna K. Rowling, we'll have 10% less people buy your book. So let's go out as J.K. Rowling, right? C.S. Fields, and lots of people will buy your book. And I think that is the reason why it's not Joanna and J.K. Who knows, right? I don't know. Maybe it's apocryphal, right? Because, you know, once you get to a certain level of fame, lots of stories get told about you, and only 10% of them are true, right? And you say, you know, what the fuck, all right, so that was all right, pp.txt. All right, so what we want to do is count. We want to say, let's say we want to count all the characters in it. So wc-l, wc say wc space. WC is a program that someone wrote that says, don't say -l. -l says just give me the number of lines in it. You can say wc space pp.txt, and it will tell you 3 things about the file, right? It actually does the counting. You can write this program today if you want, right? Not ls. Yeah, enter. All right. So the first is the number of lines. So there are 14,000 lines formatted like this, right? Not in the original publisher's font, right? Formatted like this, there are 14,000 lines in this book. That's how much, how long this book is. How many words? There are 124,000 words. So Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice has 124,000 words in it, right? So many successful books are in that range, right? 100 to 150K.
That's interesting. That's the word to care.
And then, yeah, the 798 is the number of characters, is the number of bytes. Now, we want, however, not the total number of bytes, we want the number of bytes used for each letter. So what we'll do is, all right, cat the file, cat pp.txt, and then we'll pipe it, right? Cat, yeah, and then space, and then vertical bar, right? We're going to pipe it to a bunch of programs. Piping is a concept in Unix, borrowed in many operating systems, that takes the output of one program and feeds it to the input of the other program as though it was typed in by hand. Is everybody comfortable with that concept? That is called piping. It's like connecting pipes together, right? So this says, run a program called cat, give it the input pp.txt, and what cat is going to do is concatenate, meaning it's going to dump the contents onto the terminal, right? Take the output of cat, which is basically the contents of the file, and instead of dumping it on a terminal, attach it via pipe to the input of this other program that I'm going to run here, which is expecting input. So this other program that I'm going to run here, which is expecting input, let's say the first thing I want to do is, let's do the simple thing. Just say WC there and hit enter. You should get exactly the same output as before. WC and hit enter.
Like
enter.
this?
Yeah. Enter, enter. Exactly the same input, because it is the same. It is the same. It's just indented differently, right? Because in the first case, it was reading a file. In the second case, it's reading standard input, which is coming from the file, but it doesn't know. It's coming from the file from cat, but cat says to WC, hey, WC, just count standard input, your terminal, your keyboard, CN, right? However, the shell is going to say, cat, give me your cout. WC, give me your CN. Without you guys knowing, I'm going to join the two together. Does that make sense? This is useful to you guys because this all ties into C++, right? C and C out objects we're using. Once we get objects, we can tie them together. That is essentially the core of C++ down the track, because you're going to be doing lots and lots of things and connecting them together. The real power comes in the connections, right? And once you find that this is the way you connect things, it's the same, whether it's Python or C++ or shell, like we're doing now. It's all shell, right? Python, JavaScript, it's just connections. But in order to make the connections, you just need to know the nuts and bolts, right? What are you connecting? And fortunately, there's only a few things, a few nuts and bolts. And that's what CS2A is. In CS2A, we learn what are all the things that can be connected. You've got to be good at that. You've got to invest the time and effort, because the fun is in connection. The real fun is in connecting things. But you cannot get to connecting things unless you know what to connect. So that is why learning to program is also like a programming task, because the joy and pleasure of programming cannot be had until you get to the place where you're able to connect things together. However, some things, we can start kids very early off and have them connecting blocks, simple blocks together. Yeah, okay, all right. But still, in CS2A, we're not doing any of that. We were doing a little bit of connection, but we're just saying these are all the blocks. All right, so I'm hoping everybody's okay with that. So up arrow again, let's erase WC, up arrow and then backspace. Now what we want to do is break up the incoming stream of text into one letter per line. So let's use a command called stream editor. No, wait a sec. We want to break up every character. How did I do that? Now, we can, so there is a way in which you can use this, edit the incoming stream to replace each character with a character followed by a new line, okay? That way, every word will be broken up. Every word will be broken up into a line of its own. And how did I do that before? So it's coming in. You guys can also think, right? How do you break up a word that's coming in into a stream of lines, one letter in a line? So I think, how did I insert new lines into, TR, there is TR, it's such a long time. TR dot, you can't use regular expressions in TR. Try this, okay? No, we can't do that. All right, okay, I'm gonna think about this. Maybe I'm gonna look at some aliases that I created a long time. Just give me one sec, okay? All right, I think I created an alias a long time ago in my shell that tells me what I do. I have it right here, I think. If I don't find it now, you can rest assured that you know, I'll post it in Reddit so that you know what's going on, how to do this. But I'm pretty sure I have this here. What we want to do is, okay, let's not waste any more time on this. All right, I'll find out. But you know, this is what we want to do. In C++ it's easy, right? In C++ it's easy. What you need to do is just read one character at a time. In C++, what we do is read one character at a time, and then turn the character from uppercase to lowercase if it's uppercase, or lowercase, right? If it's uppercase, and then you know what the and then you know what the character is, and then you increment a counter to say that character I saw one more time. So you start off with 26 plus 10, 36 counters, right? And then first is A, and the last is the letter 0 maybe, or the letter 9, and then every letter you see in the input, you're going to increment the appropriate counter. And you got to use an array.
So the index of the array maps to what character it is?
That you have to juggle a little bit, right? Because the character, if it's uppercase A, is 65. You don't want to have an array that is 65 long. So what you're going to do is have an array that's only 36, but A through Z is going to go into locations 1 through 25, 1 through 26. So you're going to do some arithmetic transformation there. Are you comfortable with that, or you need me to talk you through this? Right? If I see an A, I'm going to increment the array cell letter minus 65. So array cell of 65 minus 65 is 0. So it is, if I see an A, it's going to increment array cell 0. B, array cell 1. And we can take advantage of the fact that all the letters are, you know, next to each other, A through Z. You can have an array. In fact, here's the safest thing to do. Have an array that's got 255 letters, 255 cells. Yes? Let me change. Right, let me get you back. Okay, so have an array that's 255 cells, 255 integers in it. Yes? Okay. Each integer stores a count of how many times that particular byte was seen in the data. Now you can use a technique that Alexander said. If you see A, just increment that array of 65. If you see B, increment that array of 66, and so on, right? At the end, you only have 255 places to scan, and you know, right? Some of them are going to be empty, but who cares? So yeah, each letter, you have the counts right there. So does that make sense? Are you guys okay? Are you guys able to do this on your own? Yeah, I'm going to be here, right? Anytime you're stuck and you think you're going to, you know, it's taking too much time, you can call me back, or we can continue with next class. You can ask me quick questions, and that's fine. All I'm going to be doing is basically just looking at my alias file again, because I'm so sure I did this one time.
Okay,
You need to break it up into single characters, right? And I'll come back and show it to you, right? Hiram, don't lose the screen, okay?
yeah, should I go into the C++ files? That
Yeah, go into, but keep this. Go into
yeah,
C++,
I can just
and you guys can go ahead and start coding this. And I'll switch windows and look at what I did before to break in, or do some experimentation. That's probably easier, faster, right? I'll do some experimentation to find out the easiest way to break it up. Is that okay? All right. So I'm going to turn off the video, mute myself, but I'm just going to be here, and maybe I'll mute you guys too. right? So that I can just experiment and find out how to do this. All right, but oh no, I can't mute you guys. Just call out to me, all right? I'll just mute you mentally, but if you call out to me, I'll come back. Okay? All right, thanks.
Okay.
I liked what you had before, but if it returned like a vector, you know what I mean? So like we have a method that returns a vector of counts.
That's what I was doing.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what you were doing. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's
Okay,
keep
so we
it
can
to
just do that.
Yeah, could we do the 255 though? Because
Yeah, that
it's
makes more
just-
sense.
Yeah, it's just way harder because you have to like 0 through 9 are separate from A through Z. So it's like, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and now all we have to do is, well,
Okay, this is unnecessary since we're doing that method, so I'm gonna delete it.
yeah, that's what it is. So we increment the counts and the,
Oh my gosh.
how do we go from character to int?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to Google. It could be really easy.
I can't really move off this screen since it shows
Okay,
my
let me go to Google. To ask me int. Does that sound good? C++. Okay, int. You cast it
Oh, you
as
just cast it to int.
like, or
Okay.
it's not casting, it's like a method, like int parenthesis. And
Really?
then
Oh my
it
gosh.
is, yeah. It must be
Uh,
a standard, like a standard thing. Just int parenthesis, and then yeah, yeah, it's that. So it would be stir I. Sweet. Yeah, I think so. And then we can index into the vector and increment it by 1.
I keep mistyping that. Oh my gosh. Counts C plus plus.
Will that work? We can try it. Might
I
work.
hope it works.
Yeah. All right, cool. And then
Wait, maybe we need to initialize everything as 0. I don't know how vectors work enough.
I think it initializes it as 0 automatically because
We can try that.
yeah, let's just go for it.
Just
All
a
right,
second.
cool.
I need, in order to actually run stuff, I have to set up some extra stuff.
Oh, go for it.
So let me just work on that really quick. Oh my gosh, I pressed the wrong freaking button.
Sorry if you guys didn't want to code today. I thought it would be like the easiest way to review.
Oh my gosh.
Why do we have to pass stir in as, is it because it's an object string? You know what I mean? Like, I know you're right, but I don't know why.
Why do I have to pass string in as what?
It's a reference, right?
Oh, because I don't want to copy the entire gigantic thing.
Yeah, it's an object, right? String is an object.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Okay, yeah.
I've done that before in one of my other programs.
I
Okay,
just
wait.
don't remember.
Okay. Now I should probably make a main.
Oh, don't forget your signature still returns int.
Okay, wait. So are we gonna have the main in here?
Yeah, why
Okay,
not?
let's
Right?
do that. Oops. Okay.
We can pass it a dummy string.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking of doing.
Okay, cool.
Let's do cout. Wait, no. Let's make a string first. String script equals, and then we can just have something there. Cout count 11. No, wait. We can't do that too. It would be weird. How are we
Will
gonna
it
output
look-
the? Oh, whatever. We can do that.
I've never output a vector, so I don't know
Me
what it
neither.
looks like. It could like format it nicely like Java, but I don't know.
Perhaps. Should we just see out it
Yeah,
and see what happens?
Let's
Okay.
go for it.
Count letters, and then pass it script. Wait. Okay, that should be fine.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, save that, and then I need to go over here and type G++. What's the name of this again? Oh yeah, letter frequencies dot cpp output letter frequencies minus the cpp. Okay, and there is something wrong there. Cannot.
Oh, and remember
because it's an int count things in the top. That's wrong. Oop.
the signature, right?
6G. 6G. Come on. Okay. Change word. Change word to vector of ints. Okay. That should do it. Now that's even worse. Okay.
What? What's it angry at?
I'm trying to figure that out.
No type names type.
Okay,
Is it because we're piping?
I think
or
it doesn't
we're-
like the cout of that
Yeah,
vector. Let's get
I
rid of that and see
agree.
if that fixes it.
That's so weird.
Okay, that worked. That worked. Okay, so now
Wow.
that at least we can do that.
Well, so there's no compile errors, but we don't know if it works.
Yeah, we don't know if it worked at all because it doesn't output anything. It
Yeah.
doesn't do anything with it.
Can
Oh
you
no.
print out every letter?
Let's like try to print out count of A or something. So just counts
Okay,
0.
sounds good.
Oh, that's bad. Cout.
That's weird. It can't do a vector. Like
Wait,
you
no.
would
Let's.
You would think it would be fine, but
Count equals count letters script count count 0. Do you think that should work?
I think so. We'll see.
Okay, let's see.
I'm concerned about.
Okay, it printed out nothing. Lovely. Okay, maybe we do need to initialize it. Or maybe there's something wrong with like trying to.
That's so weird.
Construction
Wouldn't it
output.
print out 0? Yeah, go.
No, because
for
like either something's happening here. Either it's not initialized and so nothing's working,
it.
or it doesn't like the vector int output. But I think it's probably the initialization problem.
Yeah,
Let me shoot chat.
initialize vector C++.
Yeah.
is 0.
Neil agrees with me. Let's just make an initialization.
Okay.
So-
Got it. I got it. So after length, you don't have to. You can do you have counts 255, comma,
Yeah.
space 0.
comma
It'll
space 0
initialize
like
it.
that.
Yeah, that's what it
Oh,
does in
that's really cool.
Stack Overflow.
That's really nice. Okay. Wait, shoot, I'm not in the window.
Yeah, that's super easy. I like that.
Okay. Oh my gosh, sorry. I really can't read chat. It's really hard for me to switch between the two. Okay, that did nothing too.
Could you print out with cout like A, like a string A?
Oh
Okay,
yeah, let's
so,
just.
so I'll paste in the chat window. This is the output you guys should get from your program. Here is the command that, well, here is the entire thing. Hey, Hiram, if you copy that line that you have in the chat there, cat slash, I think your file is also called pp.txt, right?
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So this is a chain of commands. I'm pretty sure I can simplify this even more. But you know, all this is doing is take the file. Wait. Get rid of the -10q. What the hell is -10q doing here? I used that in experimentation, and then I removed. That's why I completed so quickly. Okay, all right. So if now what I did was here. All right, that's why now it's taking longer. Okay, good. Now,
Wait.
oh, this is what you should get. Okay, this is the output you should get.
Okay, so if I do
use this for cross-checking. Right.
So if
Sorry.
I should do cat pp.txt.
This is it.
Type.
All right, this is a real file. the latest paste that I made into the chat window, that's a real file, is cat pp.txt. And then the sed command, this ugliness you're seeing there, there's a neater way, I'm pretty sure I've done this in the past. What I'm doing there really is taking every character and replacing the character with the same character. The /1 is the same character that matched inside of the, escape braces parentheses before. Same character, but follow each character by a new line, /n. This is bring back C++ here, okay? Same character, /n followed by new line. That's what the /n/1/n means. The /mean means global. Do it for every single character in what you see in the input stream, okay? Now, TR says, take all letters in the range A to Z, which is lowercase, transform them corresponding uppercase, A to Z uppercase. Okay. And then take that output and pass it to grep and says -v says everything except the one that matches this pattern. And the pattern is beginning of line, bunch of white space, right? End of line, nothing in there. So empty lines, exclude all the empty lines and then sort it, right? So that all the same characters are next to each other, and then do a unique count. We're saying how much, count all of the characters that are next to each other, and then sort it numerically in reverse order. So the most frequent characters at the top. I know this is like a Python of a logic here, but it is something that you use very frequently. And lots and lots of different things. Lots of different. Yeah.
You missed
Don't make a macro. Don't make a macro out of this, right? But it's a pattern. It's a pattern. It's a pattern that you will use in different techniques, whether it's Python or JavaScript or C++ or Unix shell, right? It's a pattern that you're going to use very frequently in getting a feel for relative counts. So what this says is that in this book that you're going to count, there are 71,000 letter E's, right? 48,000 T's, and so on and so forth. And you got the count for every single character.
Oh, shoot.
Right? And it's sorted by decreasing order. So it's fun little exercise, right? So you can take this and we can come back to this program on Thursday, right? We can come back to this program on Thursday, and it'll also be instructive for the midterm, right? Because you play with this, you'll feel more comfortable and able to take on the midterm without any concern. And we can do this on Thursday, but you guys should do it in the meantime, right? Maybe to organize a time before Wednesday when you guys can just get together without me, right? On Zoom or in the STEM Center, and then work through this. I think it's an interesting problem, isn't it? Isn't it interesting? Yeah, you got the text already. You just need to count the characters in it. Next step, we can do it, afterwards, is to count all the words in it, right? Count all the number of words. How many times does each word occur? That's easier too, right? So you'll find that the word the is the most frequent in any text, right? Most texts. So that you can do.
Anand, does what I typed look right?
When you type what?
I typed it in mine.
Oh yeah. So that should work, right?
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, hit enter. There you go.
Oh no.
You have the exact same as mine, right? If you page up, you see 141,000 E's or something like that. Go back. Oh, no, up. Scroll up.
It's not letting me scroll for some reason.
You got the scroll bar. On the right.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
click on the triangle on the top. Click on the triangle on the top.
Yeah, I might just be lagging.
You can just run the same command again. Up arrow, and then pipe it through more. Put a vertical bar in more. Yeah. Okay. Now you can see it page by page. Yeah. Yeah. 71,000 E's. Same number I got, I think. Yeah.
Yay.
It has to be the same number. We downloaded from the same source.
Very nice.
Unless it's, there's a possibility that curl include header information. If you include a header information saying I got it at this time, downloaded this time, and shit like that, then your counts will be different from mine, right? But the fact that your counts are exactly the same, meaning that there is no header information, it is actually the raw text from Jane Austen's book.
Yay! It worked.
Yeah, cool. All right, so this is what you got to replicate in C++. So this sequence of command got to be replicated. It's much easier to do in C++, right? Because in Unix, you got to do all this crazy ass redundant things, right? We got to cat the file and break it up, and then lots of redundant stuff happening there. So in C++, it'll be a whole lot more streamlined and efficient, faster and easier. Yeah, you guys want to carry on with this, or you can do it either in class now. I don't care. I don't have to switch it off. We can do it now if you want. People want to take off, you want to organize a private session, that's fine too. Let me know, okay? I'm just going to be here. But if you want me to take off, I can take off. And then you can get in touch with me. If you guys want a study session on Wednesday, we can take this program again or do other things. Everything is okay, right? So I think a lot of people have to leave now. You can continue to play with this code, or you can come back, right? We can do this on Wednesday, or you and Alex can hack it and share it and Reddit and saying, hey, we stuck around and we played with this code and we got this to count the number of letters in Jane Austen's book.
I've got to go, but
Yeah, go for it.
Hiram, could you maybe post this on Reddit, like in
Yeah.
the GDB or whatever, or the code?
Shoot, that would be really hard.
Oh, okay, or just the code.
I could probably post just the code.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
It's easier to post GDB thing, isn't it? So if you just copy this into online GDB and you have a share link, then Alex should just fork it.
Okay. Yeah, if I could like upload a file into.
No, copy and paste.
Like,
Why upload? Copy and paste the code.
Copy and paste. I've had troubles with copying and pasting inside this.
You sure?
Yeah.
Drag to the end. Drag Command A and drag to the end.
Command A, drag to the end.
No. Does Command A work in that window? Command A, hit Control Command A.
Like Windows
there's
A
a window. There's a window.
Control A?
Control A.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Okay. Drag. Click on top and drag all the way to the bottom. Okay. Now hit Control C. Control C. I think Control C. No, you copied it, right?
Maybe I'll try Control Shift, see if it didn't work, because I think that
Control Z out of this and type. Let's dump what you copied into some random file in /temp. So say cat greater than. Yeah, cat greater than dev null, right? Dev null /dev/null. Basically, you're saying I'm going to dump a lot of stuff. Just send it to the sink, right? /dev/null, NULL. 2 L.
Like
Okay.
There's
Enter.
2 L's.
Enter. Now paste it. Control V. Oh, it didn't work. You can't copy and paste.
I'll try the Control C, as I said.
Oh, you didn't try the Control C before.
No, I tried Control C, but I think I want to try Control Shift C.
Maybe it's a right click and then copy. Can you do GUI based copy?
Yeah, Control Shift C work.
Oh, okay, cool. All
And
right.
then,
There you go. So you should be able to paste into online GDB and then Alex can fork.
although it has extra 23s. Shoot.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
I can
Yeah,
just
this
turn
is-
off the number lines. I can do no numbers.
You figure it out. Yeah, you can figure out the. All right.
Okay.
You guys okay? Yeah. So I can basically step off. Do you want me to end the lecture now? Meaning, it'll stop recording and then you guys can pick up later.
Yeah, sorry, I gotta go, Hiram.
Bye. Okay.
All right. So
I'll
I'll
just
end the
stop
lecture now. You guys can get together separately, organize a study session, and Wednesday, maybe, if you want me to join it, just let me know.
Okay,
All right.
Sounds
Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming today. Bye.
bye guys.
Bye.